Oh, we do love a mockbuster, don't we? We are talking about the movie Don't Speak, also known as Silent Place. And this one is directed by Scott Jeffrey, who also wrote this movie, and he previously directed the mockbuster Nun movie called Bad Nun. And let me tell you, that was a bad movie. So here he is, obviously taking on A Quiet Place, as we have A Quiet Place 2 just around the corner. So we have a very similar story with this one. It focuses on this family that go and see a member of the kind of like their family who lives in the kind of the more of a rural part of the country. And when they get there, they find that there's no one around. Everyone seems to be missing. And there appears to be some type of creature, or maybe creatures that are lurking, that seem to be attracted to sound. Very much like, obviously, A Quiet Place. They do have a little bit in common with the kind of the Alien, from the Alien franchise as well. And what will happen, you'll have to watch the movie to find out. Okay, so let's talk about, first of all, what works with Don't Speak. So this is a bit of more of an assured film. I watched The Bad Nun, and I know the same director recently did the movie Cupid, which I haven't seen, but I understand it's a terrible movie. But I have to say, on a technical level, there is some confidence behind the camera with this one, and I feel like, at least on a technical level, this movie is quite proficiently made. It looks like it's kind of well shot. There's some good use of perspective and things like that. I actually think the creature, which is actually a practical effect rather than cheap CGI, which I appreciated, looks pretty kind of gooey and hot and quite good, to be fair. And it's actually shot in a way which makes it look quite fearsome, when it realistically is a man in a rubber suit. But nonetheless, I feel they've made it in a way that it kind of looks pretty good and kind of makes it look more kind of fearsome. I think the location shooting on this kind of what appears to be some type of farm in a kind of more rural English village. Put a pin in that English village, because we're going to come back to that. But it looks good, it has this kind of cut-off feel, and you're feeling that you're genuinely not going to get kind of phone signal, things like that. So I thought that was pretty good. I think the premise, it's obviously very similar to A Quiet Place, but I feel it's easy when you're looking at a mockbuster just to write the story off as a kind of as a copy. But let's be honest, there's so many kind of unofficial, remakes. Look at Rear Window. How many times has that been remade? But no one says, oh, that's a mockbuster when you're talking about Fright Night. But this clearly was made to be obviously cash in on the success of A Quiet Place. But I feel it does a relatively good job of making it its own thing that you could watch without completely writing it off as just a cash in. Because I do feel there is some value in the filmmaking here. And it does add a little bit of an extra element, as I've mentioned, with this kind of a bit more of like an alien type thing in regards to maybe how these things are reproducing and stuff like that. So just a small little difference there. What doesn't work? Okay, there is one huge issue with this movie. There's a couple of issues, but there's one big one that I could not get over. This is an English movie with English actors all pretending to be American. Now, this is not the first time that I have seen this. Now, this is clearly because they want it to be distributed in America, and Americans obviously, well, according to this film company, don't like watching non-Americans. So we have this group of English actors all putting on American accents, and it is so distractingly bad. It is so bad. I don't understand. I reviewed a movie called Pet Graveyard, which is by the same production company, different director, but same production company, and that was the main critique of that one. And it's the same thing here. This production company loves its actors to put on American actors. It cannot be, these actors are not good enough for that, unfortunately. So any performances is hard to judge because the acting is so hampered by the fact that there is these wonky American accents that kind of slip out of English and American. It's so distractingly bad. It is legitimately hard to kind of concentrate on the film because it's not just a character, it's all of the characters. And it's clearly filmed in England. We even see a shot with a Union Jack, but they draw, you know, the steering wheel's obviously on the right side of the car, things like that. There's clearly an English kind of like village. It's obviously not America. It doesn't look like America, but we have all of our cast with these kind of very phony English accents, and it is so distracting. I am surprised that this company has done this, to be honest with you. So I've got to be honest with you, I thought the acting really suffers because of that. The individual performances, had they been acting in English, with the natural English accents, may have been okay, but as it stands, it's not. Now, if you really want to have American accents, my advice would be pick the best, maybe 1 or 2 actors who can do the American accent, and have a couple of American accents if that's really what you want to do, but not your entire cast who clearly cannot do it. And I've said this many times, I feel smaller budget movies need to be screen tested by people who have nothing to do with the film, because they would pick up stuff like this and it would just not, it wouldn't happen time and time again. However, let's talk about maybe what else doesn't work. This movie, I feel, starts off relatively strong. I'll say that. And despite the fact that it is obviously a carbon copy of A Quiet Place, on its own merits, it still starts off relatively strong on a kind of a story perspective. But I had some issues with it. For example, how our protagonists, they just assume that these creatures are hunting by sound. There's no real, we don't ever really see our characters discover that. They just go, oh, they're making noise, therefore they must be hunting by sound. It's like, how have you come to that conclusion? And the first time we have a interaction between one of these kind of creatures and this female member of the family, and it's looking right at her, but she's really quiet. I mean, how does she doesn't know these things exist at this point. She doesn't know that they are responding to sound. You would just shit your pants and scream. So there's some logic issues there. And I'm going to say the movie really suffers in regards to its pacing. The second act really does drag, unfortunately, and there seems to be lots of scenes here that seem to take ages. For example, there's a scene that happens in a pub where we have a group of characters go in, and one of them discovers a body, and then it cuts to another scene with something else happening for about 5-6 minutes or whatever, and then we go back to the scene in the pub, and it's like, it just happened straight afterwards. This guy's like reacting to the body. I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, it's been like 6 minutes. Did you just found that? The pacing and the editing here needs to be kind of looked at. So I think this movie will be, when people watch this, they'll easily write it off as just a Quiet Place mockbuster, and that is true. I do think there is some merit here, to be honest with you. Like I said, on a technical level, I think this movie has got some plus points, and I think the actual creature effects aren't too bad. So maybe if you want more of the kind of the Quiet Place, or a very similar movie, and you don't mind low budget films, then you may want to check it out. But I warn you, you will totally be distracted by these wonky American accents. And if anyone from this company does watch this video, don't do it again. Don't do it. Or have one character that's American if you really have to have it. And make sure you can find one who can actually do a realistic accent. Why do they do it? I've read one review of this movie before, and they picked up exactly the same thing. Overall, it's probably a below average movie because of that horrible accent and acting. I'm going to give this a 4 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.